In the beginning, there was no sound, no light, only the endless void of creation. From chaos, the earth was born. Molten rock, thunderous storms, oceans rising from fire. Time carved the land, sculpting mountains, seas, and the breath of wind. The first whispers of life. In the silent depths of the ocean, something stirred. Tiny cells, fragile, glowing, began to divide, evolve, and awaken. Billions of years passed. From the sea, life reached for the land, chasing the warmth of the sun. Before us, there was another beginning. When the sun broke through the primordial cloud cover, illuminating a young, untamed world. The forests rose, huge and ancient, reaching for the light. And in the valleys, giants walked. Creatures of scale, claw, and roar ruled the earth, but extinction came, swift as nightfall. In their wake, small mammals endured, soft, silent, waiting for destiny's call. And then, from the dust of time, we appeared. Fire in hand, mind awakening, eyes staring into the stars. Fear, wonder, and hunger. The first emotions that made us human. Around the fire, they spoke. Not words, but rhythm, gesture, and song. This was the birth of language, of story, of memory. The first spark of civilization. As the first humans gazed upon the thunder above and the fire that burned without touch, a new awareness stirred within their hearts. Fear and wonder intertwined. For what they could not understand, they began to revere. The sun became a giver of life, the storms a sign of unseen power. They carved symbols in stone, painted spirits on cave walls, whispering to the wind as if it listened. In the flicker of firelight, humanity took its first step into the realm of faith. Thus belief, the bridge between the known and the unknown, was born. And from that spark, the long path of civilization began to unfold. From caves to rivers, from firelight to starlight, we began to build. Stone by stone, hand by hand. The world was shaped by our will. And so began the story of humanity, the tale of our origins. As the first humans gazed upon the thunder above and the fire that burned without touch, a new awareness stirred within their hearts. Fear and wonder intertwined. For what they could not understand, they began to revere. The sun became a giver of life, the storms a sign of unseen power. They carved symbols in stone, painted spirits on cave walls, whispering to the wind as if it listened. In the flicker of firelight, humanity took its first step into the realm of faith. Thus belief, the bridge between the known and the unknown, was born. And from that spark, the long path of civilization began to unfold. Fire became more than just a source of warmth. It became a symbol of wisdom. Small villages turned into cities. People learned to record history using the first written characters, cuneiform, hieroglyphs. In Mesopotamia, Sumer rose with its giant ziggurats. In Egypt, pyramids rose like fingers pointing to the sky, where the pharaohs believed they would return after death. In the Indus Valley, the first cities had sewers, markets, and laws. Music, art, and early faith were born. Humanity began to ask, who are we? Where do we come from? Those questions gave birth to philosophy, religion, and the eternal longing for meaning. The agricultural era transformed humanity from nomadic tribes to the inhabitants of the first civilizations. And with it, the memory of the beginning of history was etched into the human mind. In the centuries that followed the dawn of civilization, humankind rose to shape vast empires, monuments of ambition, faith, and conquest. From the marble halls of Rome to the silent temples of Asia, power and belief intertwined, forging the destiny of nations and souls alike. The Roman Empire, a marvel of order and might. Its legions marched across continents, binding Europe, Africa, and Asia under one law, one language, one idea, civilization. They built roads that outlasted their emperors, aqueducts that carried water like veins of the earth, and cities that became the blueprint of the modern world. But power breeds pride, and pride decay. The empire that sought eternity would crumble not by sword, but by time itself. As empires rose and fell, a quieter revolution stirred, the awakening of the human spirit. In the foothills of Nepal, a prince sought enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree. In the deserts of Judea, a carpenter's son preached of compassion and eternal life. And in the sands of Arabia, a prophet's voice echoed the call to unity and surrender to one God. Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, faiths that transcended borders, shaping hearts more deeply than any crown could rule. Far to the east, the Han Dynasty laid the pillars of science and philosophy. They gave the world paper, a tool to preserve thought itself, the compass, to find direction when the stars hid behind clouds, gunpowder, to ignite both invention and destruction. Through silk roads and caravans, East met West, not in war, but in trade, ideas, and wonder. The medieval world was bound by faith and fear. Stone cathedrals reached for heaven as plague swept the earth below. The Black Death took millions, yet from its ashes, humanity learned resilience. Knights fought for honor, monks guarded knowledge, and artists dreamed of beauty amid despair. Across the steppes of Asia, the thunder of hooves shook the world. Genghis Khan forged an empire larger than Rome's, built not of stone, but of speed, fear, and unity under law. To the west, the Ottoman Empire rose as a bridge between continents. In the jungles of Southeast Asia, the Khmer built Angkor, a city of gods carved from stone. As the medieval night faded, a new dawn broke. The Renaissance, rebirth of art, science, and human reason. From Florence to Istanbul, knowledge once hidden in monasteries burst forth into light. Da Vinci painted the divine within man. Galileo lifted his eyes to the heavens and saw that truth itself could move worlds. Empires may crumble, but the ideas they carried still breathe within us. Faiths may differ, but all seek the same: meaning, purpose, and light. At the beginning of the 15th century, the world stood on the edge of an abyss. The compass pointed the way, and the sails were filled with the breath of destiny. From the ports of Spain and Portugal, brave and reckless, men set out to cross uncharted oceans. In 1492, Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic, searching for a western route to Asia, and instead discovered a new world. His voyage ushered in a global era of exploration, an era in which the ocean no longer divided continents, but connected them. The age of discovery had begun, and humanity would never see the world the same again. As explorers returned with tales of vast lands and endless treasures, European powers raced to carve up the world into empires. Spain claimed the Americas. Portugal dominated the seas. England, France, and the Netherlands joined the fray, painting the map in their colors. Colonies prospered, but not all shared the promise of discovery. Indigenous civilizations, the Aztecs, the Incas, countless nations in Africa and Asia were enslaved, silenced, or wiped out. Gold flowed into Europe, but blood soaked the lands from which it came. The age of discovery had become the age of conquest. While empires ruled the seas, another revolution was brewing on land. In the heart of England, coal and steam changed the world. The Industrial Revolution, the dawn of the machine, factory replaced field. Iron and steel replaced muscle. Cities rose from smoke and steel, drawing millions from the countryside into a new world of noise and movement. Trains raced across the country. Ships no longer needed the wind. Humanity had found a new power, the power to reshape the earth. But progress came at a price. The air grew black. The poor labored in the dark. And the gap between those who owned the machines and those who served them grew wider. Amid the smoke of industry and conquest, a new light began to shine, the light of reason. In the drawing rooms of Paris and the universities of London, philosophers challenged kings and questioned faith. Isaac Newton discovered the laws of nature. Voltaire mocked tyranny with words sharper than swords. Rousseau dreamed of a world where all men were born free. It was the Enlightenment, the age when mankind dared to think for itself. Liberty, equality, and human rights, ideas that would soon burn in the world. The echoes of revolution echoed across the Atlantic. In 1776, 13 American colonies defied British power and declared their independence, forming a nation built on the rights of man. Just a few years later, France followed suit. The people stormed the Bastille, overthrew their kings, and declared that power belonged not to monarchs, but to the people. Liberty comes at a high price: blood, chaos, and fear. But through fire and struggle, humanity has learned one eternal truth. The power to shape the future lies not in crowns, but in the collective will of mankind. Come by the mid-19th century, the world had changed beyond recognition. Steamships crossed oceans in days, not months. Telegraph lines carried messages faster than the wind. Empires expanded from Africa to Asia, fueled by trade, technology, and ambition. But beneath the pride of progress, new tensions arose. Nations armed themselves with steel and science. Old empires clashed with new empires. The 20th century dawned. Nations stood armed, their alliances tangled like threads of fate. One spark in Sarajevo, and the world was set ablaze. Trenches scarred the earth. Steel met flesh. Millions vanished into smoke and mud, names lost beneath the roar of cannons. Kings and emperors fell, thrones crumbled, empires dissolved. The sun that once never set finally sank below the horizon. Europe lay shattered, the world mourned, but from the ashes, a question lingered. What had humanity truly conquered? And when the guns grew silent, the world awoke to a new dawn. Nations rebuilt, borders redrawn. The old order had fallen, but from its ruins, a modern world began to rise. Ships gave way to steel giants, steam to electricity, empires to nations. The age of discovery had ended, yet the age of humanity had only just begun.